we go. Yeah. Nice. Mm-hmm. Love it.
But that didn't just happen. Surveys had to be completed and a route had to be checked, and those surveys started in the 1850s. One of those survey routes was along the 35th parallel, and the route would have, had it been built when the survey was completed, would have gone through northern New Mexico, northern Arizona, and then into the Mojave Desert here. There was already a foot trail, as we all of us clampers know, and of course the MDHDA knows. That's the Mojave Road. The Mojave Road, or the old government road, connected the territory of Arizona all the way to Wilmington, California, at the Drum Barracks, and we've of course done plenty of histories on that. You know what? Is there a way? Hang on. Is there room inside that, or could they? Well, these guys are getting soaked. All right,
We can bring them inside.
yeah, 10 more minutes. Would it be okay? All right.
They're out in the rain. They said let it roll.
Of course, half of them will die of pneumonia before the next clamp out, but that's okay. Anyway, as you know, the Mojave Road connects connected the territory of Arizona and the Colorado River, Fort Mojave, to Wilmington, California. That route was a good route for foot and for wagon traffic because you had water at somewhat regular intervals at about a day's march apart. However, it's way too rugged for railroads. And so the survey that was conducted along that route found that area unsuitable. However, this area down to the south is much more amenable to building a railroad. And so it was that in 1883, you had the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad, which was largely owned by the Santa Fe, building west through northern New Mexico, through northern Arizona, and towards California. However, you also had the Southern Pacific. Southern Pacific didn't want the Santa Fe and its minion, the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad, to build into California, so they tried to block that by coming down through Tehachapi, which, hey, kind of similar weather as in Tehachapi a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Except no snow.
And wind.
And down through Mojave and across the desert to what's now Barstow, Newberry Springs, and onward to try to cut off the Santa Fe. In the end, the railroad hit Newberry Springs, got to Ludlow, and then turned south and east to avoid the Providence Mountains. And then once you hit Amboy, that's kind of the low spot. The railroad starts to rise, the grade starts to rise as the tracks turn east and then northeast, and then finally come up here through Fenner to Goffs. Goffs is the high point between Needles and Barstow. And that rail line was completed in 1883. The siding was established here, a few tent buildings were set up, and what would happen is as the trains moved to the west, you had to attach helper engines down there in Needles. Those helper engines would assist the trains coming up the hill out of Needles to Goffs. They'd be disconnected here, put on a turntable, and sent back down to Needles to rinse and repeat. Goffs as a entryway into the East Mojave Desert really started in the 1890s. There was a number of precious metal finds up around where Vanderbilt was built, where Vanderbilt was, and that opened the desert to mining. The problem was that you don't have any railway up there, so you do have Fenner, and then you also had Goffs here. This is an area where if you built a road from the diggings up around Vanderbilt, you could haul ore by wagon down to here. However, that's fairly inefficient, so a second railroad is established in the 1890s, and that was the first called California Eastern, and then the later changed to the Nevada Southern. And you can read about all of that in our plaque up there at the intersection of the Mojave Road and Landford Valley. So now you have two railroads in the area. The Santa Fe and the Nevada Southern. Now you can open this area up to more exploitation of the mineral resources as well as ranching. There was sporadic ranching here from the 1860s, but there's really no way to get cattle to market or get the cattle up here. They were fairly isolated. But with the two railroads, now you have that opportunity. So the area started to build. I'm fast forwarding here because these guys are shivering their butts off. And so now you have the two railroads. You have 10 more minutes, fellas, it'll be okay. Starting in the early 1900s, you have the first automobile traffic coming through the area. At first, the cars could make it up the hill to Goffs up here, but then the area between here and Ludlow is pretty sandy. So oftentimes the automobile drivers were allowed to load their automobiles onto the flat car and avoid all that sand, and then get back onto just following the railroad all the way in towards Barstow. Eventually, the National Trails Highway was established, so you have a better route, still dirt, still gravel, still macadam, but a lot better than just the sand. You also have the advantage that you have water along the way. Wait a minute, Paul, you said it was too dry here for water. Well, you haul water in from Newberry Springs, plenty of water there that you can put in tank cars and drop those tank cars at Ludlow, at Amboy, at Essex, Danby, Goffs here until the wells were drilled and so on. So now you have automobile travel along paralleling the railroad. In 1920, then in the early 1910s, you have a wet spell, kind of like this, in the whole East Mojave. And the East Mojave became open to homesteading. And I won't go into detail, they're saying thank God, about Landfair Valley up there. But further to the north, about a dozen miles to the north of here, is Landfair Valley. That was heavily homesteaded back in the 19-teens. They grew melons, they grew barley. This was, especially barley became very popular during Prohibition, I can't imagine why. And so on. And so the entry point, again, was right here at Goffs. You could rent a rail car. If you were in Los Angeles, you could rent a rail car, put all your stuff in it, have the rail car sent here to Goffs to be put on the siding. It would then be taken by the Nevada Southern on up to Maruba or one of the other sidings, or to Landfair Valley. And then you can get your things out and set up your homestead. After a couple of years of proving up, you would get title to the homestead, and that land would be yours. And some of those titles still exist, and I know that in that railroad station, the train depot / library, they have quite a few records of that period of time. Okay, so now you got that as well. You got the homesteads, you got ranching, you got mining, and you have the automobile. Route 66 became official in 1926. The 100th anniversary will be next year. Yeah. And at first, Route 66 came right through here, right through Goffs. Yes. That established a number of businesses here in the town. The town started to do pretty well. However, in 1931, things changed because the highway department figured, hey, we'll save a couple $100,000 if we move Route 66 about 6 miles that way to where the mains are now, and go straight, bypass Goffs, and go straight out towards Fenner and then towards Fenner and over to Essex. And of course, the businesses here were bad because it's going to bypass them. A la PBC's favorite movie, which is Cars, right? It's on their level. Sorry, guys. I had to slip one more in there before your real live red shirts in a couple of minutes. Anyway, I thought it was a good movie myself. I like Gator. He's my hero. Anyway, but the town kept going because you still had the railroads and all that. In the I want to say 1924, but it's slipping my mind right now. There was a huge flash flood, and the California Eastern Nevada Southern was destroyed, and it was not worth reconstructing. By the way, that railroad, the Nevada Southern, went not only up from here up towards Vanderbilt. It went to what I think is called Ivanpah 1 and Ivanpah 2. At least Ivanpah 1, and then there was a branch built off to Searchlight, Nevada, which you'll see it on an old map, says Searchlight Branch to the Santa Fe. Okay, so let's fast forward. 1940s, World War II comes. I'll come back to the schoolhouse in a second. World War II comes. The California Arizona Maneuver Area or Desert Training Center was created in May of 1942. General Patton had a big hand in that to train troops to go fight troops to fight in the desert because they were going to go to North Africa. And he had in total, as I recollect, about 13 divisional camps in this area that spanned all the way from Vegas, all the way almost to the Mexican border, all the way from about where Pomona is now, well into Arizona. You had these divisional camps. Division back then, as I recall, is about 10,000 to 12,000 men. So these are large groups of people. Well, these people need to be supplied, and you have a railroad right here, and so Goffs became a supply center. We have a plaque to this out on the entryway to Goffs, and you can check that out once the rain stops. And so equipment, ammunition, troops, trucks, jeeps, etc., were brought here by rail, and then they were distributed to the local divisional camps from here. The California-Arizona Maneuver Area closed in 1944. The fighting in North Africa was finished. They didn't need it anymore, and victory was in sight in Europe, so that all closed down. In the 40s, the later 40s, of course, you get traffic again along Route 66, but of course this place was bypassed, and it started to fade a little bit. I'm going to bring in here now the schoolhouse. When Goffs was in what I would call its first heyday, I suppose, the schoolhouse was built because you have quite a few children in the area that need to go to school somewhere. A petition was signed and a school district was created here. The schoolhouse was constructed, much as you see it is here. I don't know if they had the recessed lighting. Maybe they did. But the schoolhouse was built, and it continued as a schoolhouse until 1930. Okay, you guys are going to have to correct me on this. 34?
1937.
1937. I was only 3 years old. That's not bad. What's that? Oh, hey, look at that. 1914 to 1937. Thanks, fella.
It's on the wall.
Yeah. And after the schoolhouse was closed, it was sold to a number of owners, including a couple that had this place in the 30s into the early 40s. When World War II came, this became a canteen for soldiers to get their Coca-Cola, their Pepsis. I don't know if they had Pepsi. Anyway, Coca-Cola and cigarettes and so on as a canteen for the soldiers. After the war ended and went back into, it was in private hands, traded hands a couple of times, and I know I'm hurrying things up because these guys are all shivering right now. And I still got to talk a little bit about Dennis. As it was in 1988, Dennis and his wife, Joanne Casebeer, bought this place. 1990. Oh, sorry about that. Thank you. 1990. Yeah, I was just a kid. In 1990, Dennis and Joanne Casebeer bought the place. The previous owners had done some renovation to it. They had, it had been stabilized, but they were no longer able to maintain it and continue the work. But Dennis was able to do that through the Friends of the Mojave Road and then the creation of the Mojave Desert Heritage and Cultural Association. They restored this schoolhouse into the beautiful building that you see here, as well as establishing the outdoor museum. And I got to say, for the clampers, it's just such a great place to have a clamp out. Our guests and our dignitaries here who are not clampers probably don't realize that usually when we camp somewhere, it's just a big open space somewhere out in the middle of the desert with nothing really around. This is one of the places that we were able to come where there's actual artifacts and living history and all of the accoutrement that goes with it. So we're real thankful and honored to be here. It's just such a great piece of history. Darylyn, would you like to talk about Dennis? Or because I only met him just a few times. I think you probably knew him more than me.
I might have. Scooter probably has some things to say.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just real quick. I'm going to take a look at my notes here, try not to foul anything up. So Dennis was born in Topeka, Kansas, and way back in 1934. Enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1953, and I do remember him telling me this, and he probably told everybody else too, that he enlisted. The North Koreans figured out that Dennis is on the way, so they threw in the towel. So he never actually went to Korea. He was, however, stationed at 29 Palms And while he was there, that Kansas boy became enchanted with the Mojave Desert and these wide open expanses that are here. He left the Marines in 1956, went to school at Washburn University, got a degree in math and physics. So, you know, one of those easy degrees that you get.
Yeah.
Me having a history degree, they spend a lot of time in the library, in the lab, whereas I spend a lot of time drinking beer. Anyway, and so in this period of time, this is during the Cold War, and the government needed physicists, needed mathematicians and engineers, and especially after the Soviets put Sputnik into space in 1957, which some of you older folks probably remember that. He took a position with the Naval Weapons Station in Norco, California, where he did a lot of work on guided missile weapon systems. But he still continued his exploration of the desert, came out as much as he possibly could, and what really intrigued him was this government road that he kept seeing on old maps, which of course is the Mojave Road, has become known to us as Mojave Road. He enlisted the help of volunteers, his friends, created the Friends of the Mojave Road, who then accurately mapped out the trace of the road from the Colorado River all the way through almost to Barstow, put up the cairns, the mile markers, recorded latitudes and longitudes, and took pictures, and then came out with a Mojave Road Guide, which many of us have used lots of times, including Billy Holcomb chapter, because, you know, by Tuscan missionaries and all. After all, if you ain't a Tuscan missionary,
You ain't shit!
James Dennis retired in 1989, and they sorry, ladies. Sometimes we forget our surroundings. As we said, we already described the purchase of the school building here and the establishment of the outdoor museum here. And by late 1998, the schoolhouse restoration was complete. And so we are happy to dedicate the two monuments, one to the community of Goffs, the other to Dennis, especially to Dennis's family. We thank you very much for your support here, Daryl Ann, and is it Daryl Ann or Daryl Lynn? Oh, okay. And we're so very happy to be able to come here and put up these monuments, especially the backbreaking labor of the PBCs. So I didn't have to actually dig a hole or anything, but they did. And we sure hope that we can, in the future, have more events similar to this. And I know that Billy Holcomb chapter absolutely supports the MDHCA and the Friends of the Mojave Road. Thanks very much, and back to the hop.
Here, I'm just a volunteer. It's a good reason to leave Long Beach, ride my chopper out here. Gets a little beery sometimes. 1991 or 90, I'm heading to Laughlin. I stop at the cemetery to pick up trash, and there's military dead at the old shot-up schoolhouse. This old boy comes walking out, and he goes, "Well, how you doing?" And we were all leathered up and looking like scumbags, and he turns around, and he's got a Colt Python 357. Well, you never know who you are. And so we all showed him our firearms because we were all police officers. Come here, I'm going to show you a snake skin. So that started my friendship with Dennis. This place right here was the shot-up schoolhouse. Our parents would drop us off. They'd go hunt deer, hunt opening day, dove season, quail, etc. Kids would stay here. We'd shoot every piece of glass in the world. When he said he was buying the schoolhouse, I laughed so hard, my side ached. Neil Sampson, I think he's not here right now, used to drive his Baja Bug in through the bullet hole in the back and drink a beer inside this schoolhouse. And Dennis Case-Pierre made this all happen. I want to introduce, raise your hand, Ariok Magronier. I can't pronounce his name. He's bashed, doesn't like attention. Number 9. 2 or 3 years here. He built the Blacksmith's Corner, live-in caretaker. He's the current manager right here today because our wonderful Laura is off doing a little bit of a vacation and some family business. Next to him, Darren Hotchford. Where's Darren? Raise your hand. And right there next to him is David. David is also a volunteer here. I want to thank you guys for doing so very much work. Loris, where's Loris Mitchell? Is Loris here? Oh, Loris is smart. She's staying dry. Full-time archive. I'll show you a new computer system we got for the archives. I'll be right back. I ditched her for 5 years. 5 years. I left my wife in there and I took off looking for shiny shit. So, but I want to thank everybody for making this happen. On your way home. Big accident. females in the vehicle, so it is not a clamper. What say the brethren?
Satisfactory.
To get home, you got to take Kelbaker, Amboy, 29 Palms, Yucca Valley. It's just as fast anyway.
Yeah.
Am I forgetting anything?
Yeah, tell them to join the MDH.
Okay, my last sales pitch. Darren, raise your hand. Darren Hochberg. These 3 PVCs got the easy candlelight. They said no way. They wanted to go dirty. They did the whole deal. They've been here since Wednesday. What say the brethren?
Satisfactory.
You guys, the electric bill here is 7 times what it was a few years ago. You got to join. You got to get your membership. Darren has been collecting money all weekend. Memberships. The historic,
giving him money until he takes the blue shirt off.
historic Memorial Cross, Mojave Cross is over there. A lot of work. Jeremy's crew, the TB, the trespassing bastards, put up a $7,000 kiosk because before that we had plywood. Guys, please get your membership. If you use electricity, there's 3 or 4 of you still need to give us $20. Please make that happen. We want to come back here. Thank you for picking up every speck of trash. And guys, have a safe drive home.
All right, we are at the barn, established in 1952. Cocktails, beer, pool, eats. Route 66. And this is where Roger Letts came in, aka Snooky. Here's his monument. And here he is. It is him, the one, the only. Heck yeah. Let's get it, Roger. Right here. Heck yeah.